Nothing to hide.
Well, that's good. Well, thank you all so much for coming today. It's wonderful to see so many faces. My name is Liz Toth, for those of you I have not met, although I've met many of you, and I'm the Director of Alumni Relations. And thrilled to have you here today for one of our coffee club events, which are our casual conversations with retired faculty and administrators from Dickinson. And they have been such a source of joy for so many of us over the past year as we've been able to reconnect during this, this period of time. I'm tired of all of the other phrases that we used to describe this year. So all of you, of course, know our professor here, but I just want to share, she came to Dickinson in 1977, retired in 2013, and established, along with David Krantz, Dickinson's film studies program. She's a professor of French and film studies, but she also taught courses in American studies, women and gender studies, Middle East studies, and the Department of History. So really just touching so many of the areas, and I think, showing one of the things that I take great pride in about a Dickinson education, all of the interdisciplinary work that happens. And I'm sure you all have different stories of how you came to know her as well. So our plan right now is that we have a few questions to sort of kick it off with. Although Nancy, you said you'd rather hear from them, but we're going to hear from you too, if that's okay.
Okay.
And we'll start with that. And then I'd love to hear, hand it over to all of you for your questions as well. So the first one, you were asking everyone else, Nancy, but we're going to ask you now, what have you been up to since you retired from Dickinson?
Well, I have taken 10 art history courses at Dickinson since I retired. I'm doing another major. It seemed like a good idea. That was one of my main loves in college before I steered onto the inevitable French track. And so I just started taking courses about 5 years ago, and I've taken one every single semester. And it's been wonderful until, of course, now we're virtual. It's very different, but I think I've exhausted the department, but it's wonderful. I really enjoyed it. I'm meeting colleagues that I knew one before, Melinda Schlitt, who some of you must know because she's been there a while, but the others I hadn't met at all, and they're all terrific. So that's one thing I've been doing. And I volunteer at Project Share about 15 hours a week. Project Share, Izzy will know because Elaine Livas founded it, and she was a contemporary, I think. Anyway, she was originally my freshman advisee when she came to Dickinson, and she started a food pantry out of the back of her Honda many, many years ago. And then it got away from her. It got enormous, and now it's got a board of directors, and Dickinson rents a space for $1 a month, right? A warehouse, so that we can distribute food, store and distribute food. So that's what I do, that part of it. The Carlisle Theater, sadly, is at the moment, I'm sorry, Katie, it has been closed. It's still closed. And I don't know when, and maybe Liz, if there are any plans to open it up again. But, I think they were badly hit financially by the pandemic. So I was programming films for Dickinson, working with Dickinson professors and trying to get movies that would be of interest to their classes. And, they haven't done that for a year. So we'll see if they open up again. And I run the film program for the retired Dickinson professionals. It sounds like I get to see all these movies that, right, that I want to see again, and they have to put up with them. No, they're good. They're good that way. So, and
you guys been watching?
What? Oh, Keith.
I'm sorry, I'm late. What have you been watching? Anything good?
Everything that was nominated. No, actually, we've done other stuff. They didn't know Chloe Zhao before Nomadland, so I made them watch The Rider, and they thought it was incredible. If you guys have never seen The Rider, it's really great. If you've seen Nomadland, then this is her earlier film. We watched Leave No Trace. We watched Collective, which was nominated for an Oscar in documentary. Honeyland, which was nominated last year. Also, Katie's doing this. Yeah. Yeah, good. I mean, more recent films. For a while, we did some older ones a couple of years ago, but now I'm sort of, because since no one could get to the movies, that's sort of what I was encouraging them to do, to watch it, streaming. It's a weird experience, though. I don't know how you guys feel about watching movies on television because you have no choice.
How did you have them watch it? Did you just assign it for, in a week we're going to talk about it, or you didn't do like Zoom viewings or anything like that?
No, what we used to do before this year, because I've been doing this for about 6 years, we'd go into Alt House 109 and watch the film and then talk about it. And sometimes I'd get one of my ex-colleagues to come. If it was Japanese film, I'd get Professor Bates in, and stuff like that. But now, interestingly, now they're watching it way before, and they have time to digest what they've seen, and the discussions are actually better on Zoom than they were in Alt House, which is very strange because the movie experience isn't the same, but they have a lot more to say because they've thought about it. So, something that I should have known, because after all, when I taught film, that's what we did, right? We all went home and watched the film on our iPhones. No, I know Keith didn't, but that was, you at least had time to prepare your thoughts about it. And I'm almost torn about continuing to do it this way, just because it's better for them. So, then this morning before I came home and had a cup of coffee, I was out at one of the precincts. It's a primary day in Pennsylvania. Katie probably had a lot more interesting candidates to vote for than I did. The number of Democrats was about this long in South Middleton Township. So I was out there, and there were like 8 Republican people there with fancy signs and cups of coffee, and I'm sitting there with my little sheets of paper handing out, write-in names for Democratic candidates. So it was not a great morning. I just want to say that. Not a great morning in America, or at least in this part of America.
I love it, though. You're still fighting the good fight.
I'm fighting a good fight. I'm a Democratic committee woman for my sins. And it's hard around here. It really is not. It's not a fun job. It really isn't. But there are good people. Carlisle, by the way, is Democratic. It's just the outlying areas that are not.
Is that always the case, or is that recent?
It's recent, Danielle, maybe the last 10, 12 years, actually. That's recent for me, yeah. They always had a strong, well, because of the War College, not the War College, because of the law school and the college, they always had a good nucleus of people that they could count on. But this is, now they've had a Democratic mayor for a few years. The council is Democratic. You might know some of the council, actually. Professor Winston's wife was on it, and Brenda Landis, who works in instructional technology, is a council member. Yeah, it's really good. But that's Carlisle. It's not South Middleton, which is 2 miles south and into Alabama, as I said to Danielle before. So that's what I've been doing. Plus, I play a lot of sports, but you guys know that, I'm still on the tennis circuit and all this other stuff. So there it is. I don't know how many hours are there in the day. I'm not even sure.
Are you busier now than you were teaching?
Yes, except there are no papers to grade. Not that I didn't love grading all your papers. I did. I did actually. Just looking, you think, yeah, I did actually like doing that. But that's the difference, right? Otherwise, time-wise, yeah, I am busy. Keith, where are you now? Are you in Jersey?
So I'm in a weird. So I still have a house in Carlisle, and Tara, my son, Tara still works at the college and still live there. But I took a job in New Jersey at a private high school, Newark Academy, 3 years ago now. So I spend the week here. I've got an apartment and I go back on the weekend. So I'm around. So I'm going to find a way to get invited to this older movie alum.
Yeah, right. That's right.
I would
All
love
of you are semi-retired from.
Yeah, although now it's on Zoom, because I remember our film class, what was it called, like Blackboard or Black something?
Yeah, we had
the-
Blackboard. Now
we
it's
had
on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
now
we
it's.
had type notes.
But here, don't worry about that because nobody has any homework.
Good.
This is good. No homework, no writing. You just like, here's what I think.
My question is, McCabe and Miss Miller been shown yet?
Yes,
in the-
I showed it. Okay, and has anyone seen that film? Mike did, of course.
I've seen it 5 times because of you.
But on the
Really sorry
Criterion Collection.
It's a great movie. I sort of reintroduced the Western to them. And McCabe and Mrs. Miller was one of the ones that I did a couple of years ago, forgetting how bad the soundtrack is. And we had to watch it with subtitles so that they could actually hear what was going on. But it's a wonderful film. It's really a great film. I did show The Last Picture Show also a couple of weeks ago, and I'm showing, because we're doing this weird Western thing. I don't know how it happened. I'm showing First Cow next week, which is I recommend that. It's a weird film. It's really weird, but it's not your normal Western, but Westerns are now all revising history as it should be. And that makes it really interesting. But yeah, I could talk about film all day because Katie and I lost a dear friend. Our favorite director died, what, a year ago now?
Yeah, just about. It was kind of early pandemic days. So yeah, that was
Who was
sad.
that?
It was sad. It was sad. I thought of you a lot when that happened.
Which director are you guys talking about?
Agnes Varda.
Agnes Varda.
She
Okay.
was not particularly well known in the States, except in French classes, I guess. But she'd been making films since the late 50s, and they're wonderful. They're all absolutely terrific. So look
Yeah,
her
she
up.
like a feminist idea of new wave cinema, and then she really kind of treaded into documentary stuff in her later years, which I just love documentaries. So she kind of like merged like 2 things that I really love, and I know Nancy really loves too. So
I feel like her reputation started to get more and more well-known in the US the last couple of years of her life.
Yes, it did.
agreed.
Yeah. She also, if you want to see a fun movie, it really is fun. It's called The Gleaners and I. It's great. It's about what, 12 years old now, maybe more than that. It's really very good, and I'm sure you can find it on one of the streaming services. It's a documentary about what it says, right? About gleaning, which sounds like what, but it's actually an environmental justice film is what it's all about, rather than
I actually saw that movie, Nancy. There used to be, they're doing it virtually now, but there's a wonderful environmental film festival in Washington D.C. every
great.
year,
Yeah.
and they showed that movie, and I saw it. And the French embassy used to host a lot of these films, so I'd be hanging out there a fair amount.
The French are very good about that. They really know how to sell their movies. We don't have to bother. They just sell themselves if they have a Marvel character in them. That's automatic. But it's good. So I'll just recommend that one. There's many. You can find the others, but that one is a good introduction to her documentary. See, I'm teaching again. Okay. I'm sorry about that. So. What was the next question?
The next question is, so you were at Dickinson from 1977 until 2013. How do you think college changed during that time?
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I guess Izzy was here almost at that time, or I guess you were here at that time.
Yeah, I graduated in 78.
78, right. So you were there. So, and you've been back many times, I know that. But I think it's different when you're actually going through the process of seeing the change than when you come back and go, oh, what's that about? I would say that the change for me has been certainly the addition of all the study abroad programs that we never had when we had Bologna, right? When you were there, Izzy, and that was the first and for many years the only until Toulouse. And then Malaga, and then then the explosion of whatever, you go wherever you want to go. And unfortunately this year, as Laura will tell you, everybody has had to retract all of that. So it's kind of sad to see the college not have that kind of presence. But anyway, so all the abroad programs, which is terrific. In the middle years, I would say, when Jenny, you were in Toulouse, and Laura might corroborate this also, we would get 25, 30 kids spending the entire year abroad in Toulouse. And in the past 15 or so years, that has gradually dropped down in terms of how long kids spend and how many of them go abroad. And that kind of breaks my heart a little, actually, because those of you who have spent a year abroad, you know that you don't really learn anything till January, and then, oh, okay. You know, so if you're going home after fall semester or only coming for one semester, you know, that's kind of unfortunate, but that seems to be the way things have gone. And I don't know, Laura, are you there?
Yes. Yeah.
What do you think about that, actually?
Well, I mean, I absolutely agree with you. The longer periods are always better because, as you said, you start figuring stuff out in January. I think we do need to recognize that desire, or students maybe don't feel that they have that time to spend the full year abroad. One thing that we hear that's very positive is they really, really enjoy the experience on campus. And I do think that, you know, there are a lot of new things that are happening on campus, engaging students differently, that it really is positive. So a lot of them don't see them spending quite such a long period abroad. I still think that getting them over there, even for a short period, is positive, that they can start that learning process. What we've seen also, we have generally about a third of our students who return after graduating, come back, either do graduate programs or the TEPPIF, a teaching program. So we have a lot of students who come back to do that. So that's, in that sense, that shorter period is working as a gateway to come back. So that is positive, but you're absolutely right. We do see it, the longer period. I mean, it's just, you have more time to get in there.
Yeah, I think that what's happened also, and I don't know, Keith, what year did you grad? Where's Keith?
02. I graduated in 02.
I think around those years in the 90s and the early 2000s came the moment of everybody having a double major, right? And in some cases a triple major. And I think that made it impossible for people to stay in a one abroad program. Often people would do two abroad programs, right? You know, I'll go to Bologna, then I'll go to Toulouse, whatever. And that has not stopped. I mean, the number of double majors is still enormous, as far as I remember, from just a few years ago. So
I did a double major and it killed me. I mean, I had to take 6 classes, I think, for at least 1 or 2 semesters to make sure and finish everything in 4 years. But I was also able to go to the University of Toulouse, and one of the class that I took there counted as a history class.
Right, exactly.
So that helped as well.
Yeah.
But you're right, it's really hard.
Yeah, I know. Danielle, you did 2 majors also, right?
Well, almost. I was an American Studies major, and then because I went to Italy, I took a bunch of Italian courses. I might have had like 1 or 2 classes from a full major, but American Studies I found there were only 13, I think, requirements for the major. So I found it pretty easy to meet that. So staying abroad for a year worked for me.
Yeah. No, it seems to be tough for a number of people. Anna, you had 2 also, right?
I was not a double major. I elected for sanity. But I was doing a minor in German, and then I was doing a lot in the theater and dance department, and just decided not to pursue that formally, but I spent most of my time in the dance department, honestly. So
yeah, I think that's true of a lot of people. It's true of me. I think I spent most of my time in the last 10 years I was working in doing film, you know, and playing with film, and learning how to make film and all that other stuff. And you know, French became secondary, which sounds weird, I'm sorry to say, but I was just so excited to be able to, you know, after 25 years of doing something, burnout is really a threat. And I knew that was happening to me. And I suspect David Krantz did also in English. And so the two of us, and then a few other professors who were also experiencing the same burnout, you know, founded the film studies program. And the dean was nice enough to let us get away from our departments, which would never happen in a large state university, just would not happen. Okay. And we were able to do other stuff. So at the end, I was teaching half in film and half in French. And sometimes when I was in French, it was half in film and French, if you see what I mean. So it was, you know, that was a good thing. It really was. But I think that happens to a lot of people, that you discover that other thing, whether it's, you know, a subject or pursuit, and you're just not gonna, you know, the thing that you were theoretically concentrating on is going to become secondary because you're devoting the other times to it. You know, I don't know if others of you have done that. Mike, I forgot what you majored in, or did I know?
I was an English major.
Ah,
But I took about 10 or 11 classes in film because that was when Greg Steyer was on board my senior year. So
all right, yeah.
He helped me, double dip on things because they were then tagged to English and film.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if we had the major at the time, I probably would have double majored. So maybe I saved myself that stress.
Well, we still don't have it because, as you know, film is not real, right? Film is, you know, just fun. Just ask Keith. No, I mean, seriously, it's right. Yeah.
Tell that to Wendy, because I did my thesis on film and she had to deal with that. So
all right, that's right.
Yeah. Well, isn't it now? Don't a fair amount of kids self-design it as a major now? I know it's a minor though, right?
Someone I think either my senior year or the year after I graduated.
Because I think
there are not a lot of people, Keith, who self-design because there's a lot of hoops to jump through, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's just easier to say, well, who cares? I'll just take 12 or like 10 film courses, and then I can sell that as an important part of my college career, which it is, right? If you've had that many courses in it. And wait, Danielle is going, okay. Are you still there? She has something to do no, she's gone. Okay, she had a meeting to go to. I think you can always sell that as if it were a major, but it still breaks our hearts that the college won't recognize film studies as, you know, a thing. And that was the other thing, you know, going back to Liz's question on how things have changed. The difference between the kinds of majors we had when Izzy and even Jenny were here, and now in terms of expanding to studies majors, okay? Film studies, American studies, women's studies, Middle East, everything is now studies, which means that they're much more interdisciplinary than they ever were, you know, and that was a good part of film studies, actually, I thought, you know, that everybody could be in on that. So that's another major change, I think, that I've seen at the college. The students, you know, they're still Dickinson students. They're fine, you know, ups and downs, right, in every class. So, you know, it was fun.
Well, you've had so many different experiences at Dickinson over your decades as a faculty member and starting programs and doing so many things. Do you have a favorite Dickinson memory or a favorite funny Dickinson memory, poignant, whatever it may be?
I do, actually, and it's not a class memory. I'm sorry to disappoint people, but I think the most fun I had at Dickinson was within just a couple years before I retired. I had some film studies students who decided to make a zombie film. And they were good. They were good film studies students. And this is a serious production, a 20-minute short. I don't know if it's online. If it is, I should have looked it up to find out. It's called The Zombie King. And the person who directed it is now working in film, in documentary, and had been involved with 2 Oscar-winning documentaries, actually. So just to let you know, these guys were serious. But they were, 3 of them were seniors, right? And were trying to complete senior theses as well as trying to complete The Zombie King. And it took hours and hours and hours of using, you know, like stone axes. I mean, at the time, I think we had one decent camera there was video camera, but it was one decent one, and they had to create all sorts of brilliant things. Like they wanted tracking shots, so Brenda Landis bought a whole bunch of PVC tubes and made a little railroad track, and they mounted the camera. I mean, they did fantastic stuff, and it was great. You know, from that to like deciding what you can make blood out of, and apparently Caro syrup. That's what you want to do, okay? And also the other thing, they were armed, right? They had to be armed because they were fighting the Zombie King and his henchmen. So they went and bought a whole bunch of toy guns at Walmart. By the way, the budget for this film was $153. I just want to say that. But so they bought a whole bunch of toy guns at Walmart. And then they found out that in order to wield them on the streets of Carlisle, you needed permission from the cops. Okay, so I had to write a note. These are toy guns. No one will be harmed in the making of this movie. And they were all over the place. They were filming, you know, in back alleys, and it was great, you know, out of dorms and stuff. It was well done. So I had a lot of fun with that. There was, post-production was less fun because the director, whose name is Sean Laness, I should say that, was a perfectionist. So, you know, he was up till 5 a.m. I kept feeding the pizza, you know, while they edited, you know, and redubbed certain sounds that they needed to do. It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing that. I really sort of felt useful because I was not the teacher. You know, they knew a lot more about making film than I did. So I learned a great deal from them. So that was my fun experience. And then all of the t-shirts I won in intramurals. Right. So no, I'm only kidding. I loved all my classes pretty much. I really did. But that was a great experience. So yes.
What was your favorite class to teach?
That's a toss-up. I loved Hollywood Renaissance. What a shock. That was a fun class because those were the films of the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s, are still the best, I think. I'm just sorry, I have to say that they are, you know. We will never equal The Godfather 1 and 2. That's just never gonna happen, right? So that class I really, really loved. And I love teaching contemporary French fiction and film also, which I did later on in the 2000s. I always liked teaching French fiction, obviously 300 level course, but being able to use film in it was really nice. You know, and it's sad that in the early years, Izzy and Jenny didn't get to do that. And even, I don't know, Katie, did we use film?
I think that was the first, I
Yeah,
think I might've been the first time you taught that class.
Yep,
Yeah, that was
exactly.
all of my favorite like films and all my favorite books in French, novels in French, I think come from that class.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. That's great. Thank you for saying that. So anyway, yeah, that was that. So tell me more about yourselves. Now, do I have to keep talking or?
No, I was gonna say, let's turn it over to the group. You know, you all ask questions or answer Nancy's questions or whatever you'd like.
I have a question, Nancy. I would like to know if you still own a home in the Pyrenees.
I sold it about, my husband passed away in 2014 and I sold the house a couple of years later. But I go back there all the time because I have friends in the village. So yeah, that was fun.
Where?
Yeah, I couldn't have. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, where?
Sorry, I was just gonna ask where it is.
It's about 20 miles north of Andorra. Off
Okay.
is where it is.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
So it was neat. It was very near Toulouse actually, and then we bought the house before there was a program in Toulouse. So it was just, you know, accidental that happened. So yeah, oh well. It's another part of my life, you know.
It's good to know you still go back and visit.
Oh yeah, well, when we can at this point.
Right.
Who knows, right? You know, I think the vaccination rate in France is about 6% at the moment. So
No, hey, it's a little bit more than that now.
Is it higher now?
Yes, it's a little bit higher now. I think we're at like 15% fully vaccinated, 30% one shot. So we're picking up the pace. Everybody is eligible now. So we're getting there. Everybody over 18.
And you're finally allowing pharmacists to do it.
Yeah, but that's pharmacists have been only the AstraZeneca, which is one that's available here, but not in the US. But just because the conditions for storing it are much easier to manage. Right?
Yeah, right. Well, we actually had that in
Trying to go
Carlisle. Carlisle
to,
has no storage facilities for keeping vaccine cold, so I couldn't get Pfizer. I had Moderna. You know, that kind of thing. It's always something like that. But I laughed when a friend of mine who I WhatsApp all the time said, well, we have to go to our family doctor to get a shot. I said, wait a minute, pharmacists can keep you from dying of mushroom poisoning. You know, surely you can let them give a shot to somebody. But I hadn't thought about that, you know, that's an issue. No, it has been slow, but it's been slow in Germany and, you know, other organized places. So, yeah.
I was trying to say that, I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, go
This
ahead.
format is still a little challenging for me. I was supposed to go last June to my reunion at the Institute of European Studies in Nantes. And I had signed up and paid for everything, bought a train ticket from Paris to Nantes. And I was overseas and they would have paid for my flight as one of my benefits.
Yeah.
Working overseas, and then it was canceled, and I was so heartbroken because I was really looking forward to visiting my host family, the family that I lived with, and seeing Nantes, which is unrecognizable in the photos that they sent me. And even at the time when my trip was canceled, everything was refunded, and I had bought a train ticket, and they completely refunded the ticket because they said at that particular time you could only travel on the train if you had a business reason. So you know, and you had to document it. So I couldn't do that. So I was very, very disappointed. Plus I lost my paid vacation, 2 of them as a matter of fact. So but c'est la vie. I hope to redo it again.
Yeah, sounds like. Yeah, I think we probably all had, or a lot of us have had the experience of canceling our trips abroad. I've canceled 3 trips to Norway in the last year and a half. And, you know, SAS, you know, already waits for my phone call. It's her again, you know, but I can't do quarantine. I just don't have enough time to do a quarantine and then, you know, and then do my vacation. So I think a lot of us, if you've had that experience, it's really depressing. Anna, is that you?
Bonjour, it is me. I'm just leaving my class that I just finished.
Oh,
bonjour.
Okay. Take your mask down. It's okay. You're outside.
I will. I'm just going to get seated on this bench here.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a crazy day, but I'm glad I could make it. Hello.
Hello. What class were you teaching?
6th grade English.
Ah, okay. That's different.
Yeah. Oh, look, the chickens are coming to see me.
Oh.
Do you see them?
Oh, yes, that's very
We
nice.
have school chickens.
Oh.
Hello.
Hi. Why do you have school chickens?
Because we have a campus and they put chickens to, I don't know, walk around and eat the grass and the seeds.
Where are you, actually?
I'm at Le Caouzou.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't realize that you were there. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I am. So I don't know if you can see, but
there it is.
That's our campus.
That's great. That's right. How long have you been teaching there?
Since 2015.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
That's like half a lifetime already.
I guess, yeah. It feels like I've been here for a long time now, starting to have my habits.
And 6th grade is good for you?
Oh, I do 6th through 12th.
Oh, you do? Okay, all right.
And I also do some col in prépa.
Mm-hmm. How was it there actually? They were in school all year long, right? They weren't virtualing, or were they?
We've had 2 weeks of virtual since the beginning of the school year.
Yeah.
So not much. Yeah.
Well,
but it depends. Like we've just had to close 2 classes in terminal senior year because there were COVID cases in the classes. So it's sort of a case by case basis. Yeah.
Well, apart from that, it sounds like it was probably easier for you than it was for anyone teaching here. Here, I mean, Pennsylvania, because I don't know really what other states are doing, who, you know, we have 1 week on, 1 week off, 2 days on, 2 days off. The kids were like, you know, now we're.
It's hard. It's hard. Yeah. At least here, well, our high schoolers are doing a cycle like that now, but it's just been like 2 weeks that they've been doing that. Most of the year they've been here all the time. So that's been really nice for us compared to teachers in the US. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, Keith, are you in the classroom? How is it been?
I'm the director of admissions. But yeah, no, my school, we're really fortunate. We have 600 kids and like 80 acres of land.
Yeah.
We spread out a ton.
Yeah. It's Newark, but Newark or
no, so we're like the 11th oldest school in the country, and like everybody else, you know, in 1960 in Newark, New Jersey, the white flight, and we moved to the suburbs, and we're in Livingston, New Jersey. So I'm like 20 miles from New York City, which of course, you know, I get to go to all those movie theaters in New York that I love for like 1 year, and then the pandemic hit and haven't been able to go since.
Right.
But hey, on that note, I've got to run to a meeting. Nancy, it was so great to see you. Liz, thank you for putting this together. And I want an invite to that alum
I will,
Zoom session. All right.
Okay, I will send you it in the next one. You'll have to send me a different email though.
I will. I'll shoot you my email. All right.
No, I'm still Mellerski at Dickinson. See ya.
All right, great to see you. Take care, guys.
Thanks. It's funny to see you guys all gainfully employed, whereas I'm relaxing, not having to worry about that anymore. It really is good. Did you have difficult times getting jobs, or did you manage quite well out of Dickinson right away, would you say? Or is that a strange question to be asking? Katie, I know you had no trouble.
Right away, yeah. But I worked my like theater angle to get gainful employment right after I graduated, and then managed to transition into higher education, international education, which was kind of the goal the whole time. So I just kind of got some work experience under my belt in the nonprofit sphere, and then went straight to higher ed and just have gone in that direction. So
Liz is smiling. You guys are models of what to do. Mike, you didn't fall into Northern Virginia right away, did you? No.
No, I was back in Massachusetts for a few months, just kind of doing like temping internship stuff because I didn't really know what I was doing. I got a couple job interviews down here. Really, it was just I knew people down here, and that kind of attracted me to this area. I didn't want to do anything with government. I still don't work with anything in government. And it was kind of lucky circumstance. It's a marketing position. So I was sort of able to parlay English and proofreading and being able to write decent. And I've just been doing that for 6.5 years. The company's been really good. I didn't see myself landing in this industry for this long, and in some ways I'm still figuring that out, but it's been good. And I don't know, the stability's been nice. I thought I was going to jump like 2 or 3 times at this point. If you had said, hey, where are you going to be in 2020 or 2021? I would have said, I have no idea. But
yeah. I think a lot of us, well, I didn't, when I graduated too many years ago, we were sort of pre-programmed to go to graduate school immediately, half of the people I went to school, not half, but a goodly percentage went into social work after that. A bunch went into psychology, and a bunch went into teaching, and it was all kind of, don't stop now, keep going. But I think there's less of that happening right now, just because of what it costs, for one thing, and so how much debt you come out with, you can't zip off to graduate school. Even in the 60s, they were actually still giving money for humanities students. Amazing. Whereas now, if you're not in astrophysics, forget it. I can't really do much with that. Anna, you've been back, right, to the States?
Well, I haven't been back since the pandemic started.
No, but I mean,
since I moved here.
Yeah, no, but when you graduated, you didn't immediately go.
I did actually. When I graduated from Dickinson, I came back here pretty much immediately, and I was the program assistant for 2 years.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
I was for 2 years, and I did the language assistant program at the same time. And then after that, I got a position as a lectrice at Mirail. So I did that, and at the same time, I did my master's degree. So at Mirail, so that was a really good deal because I was a university employee, so I actually didn't have to pay the French fees being much lower. It wouldn't have been the same hit, but I didn't even have to pay them because I worked at the university, so that was great. And then I took the CAPES to become a teacher in the secondary system here in France, and then a few years later, I took the agrégation.
Okay, so you're a little bit like Laura. You never went home again after you became the assistant in the Toulouse program.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Anna, what about you when you left? And the other Anna.
Yeah. Well, I actually also went and became the assistant.
That I remember.
Yeah, and also did the TAPIF program for a year. And then I came back to the States, worked at Educational Testing Service, creating English language tests for about 4 years. But while I was there, I went to grad school and moved to New York and did my master's in applied linguistics.
Where were you at?
I was at Teachers College at Columbia. Yeah, and so I did that, and while I was there, decided I needed to actually go back into teaching to feel like a better rounded educator, not just someone who makes tests and just kind of
really? Tests which nobody wants to give anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, I still have kept my foot in the door with that because I really do love the process of writing assessments. It's a great puzzle, but so I've been kind of wandering since then, and I'm at a point in my career where I'm transitioning. So Izzy, you mentioned you were at ECA. So the fellowship I mentioned I did a lot in 2019, 2020, and I'm still doing virtually was the English language programs through ECA. So right now, all those contracts are ending, and I've been applying to a bunch of different things, trying to pivot into some other aspects of education besides just tiring myself out adjuncting and doing short-term contracts. So, and considering PhDs, but also have no idea what I would want to do a PhD in. So
not linguistics.
I would, if it would be applied linguistics, probably with a focus on writing, second language writing, which is kind of my area. But also I'm interested in so many other things. I'm kind of a Renaissance woman, so it's hard for me to focus
call that being a dilettante when I was doing it.
Yeah.
But okay, Renaissance woman. You were a writing center tutor, right?
Yeah, I was, and I went back and did that for a couple of years professionally as well, and primarily an English as a second language writing instructor in my adjunct positions and developing curriculum and things like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, it's so impressive. Wow. I wish my life experience were more varied than, 36 years at Dickinson and 1 year at the University of Chicago. But it was like that in those days. Once you got your job, that was it. You were set. Don't take any risks. And I admire you guys for, moving around, actually, taking those risks. It's hard sometimes to do that. So what else? What else? We have about 9 minutes before I go feed people.
Does anyone else have questions for Nancy?
Oh no, what?
I do.
Well,
I
got here.
Why did I give you a B+ in that course? Well, I remember. Don't remember. Besides, none of you had B+s from me, I suspect. You were all better students.
I have one, and Nancy, you've talked so much about the students and the interesting things they've done. When you think back to the classroom experience or outside the classroom experience, are there things that you learned from students that sort of stick with you, or questions that they've made you wonder over the years, or anything like that?
Yeah, I think, especially in film anyway, how to watch. I was not, I always thought I know what I'm looking at. I don't have to, but I discovered that I had students who were a lot better at it just because that the newer generations were a much more visual generation than I was. I was, always had my nose in a large French novel. And that's where it went. So I was really good with text, but I wasn't really necessarily great with, reading film. And I think my students helped me a great deal with that. Mike, are you still there? It's true. Really, really. So that's one thing. I think I also learned how to be more patient. I'm not a patient person. And I had to learn how to listen. It took me many years. It also took me many years to learn how to make comments on papers that people wouldn't start crying about. That was my French part, though. I had a couple of students who, after they came back from Toulouse, said, now I know what the difference is. When you correct our papers, you're in your French personality, right? Which can be incredibly nasty and just very unpleasant. Whereas, when I'm doing other stuff, I don't have that persona. It was very weird. But I suspect, and you know what I'm talking about, and Laura also, there really is the French like to burn you if you're not working up to what they perceive your capacity to be. And I had to learn my way around that. I think part of the reason is I don't have children. So I wasn't used, that sounds terrible. I wasn't used to the A for effort thing that you do with your little kids, right?
You didn't have to soften it up.
No, I gave B minuses for effort. I never gave A for effort. No, that wasn't happening. But I did learn how to be nicer over the years. And that was something my students taught me, just, how to respect them more. I think that's important, as a teacher. So people are not you, of course, I respected all of you. It wasn't that.
Well, I can say from where we were sitting, every time I never had Professor Mellerski, so I don't know how I did it, but I got through 3 years on campus without having Madame Mellerski. Must have coincided with sabbaticals and things like that. But anyways, we could always tell students who had taken courses with Madame Mellerski, because they were students who were not afraid to get their hands dirty to work. They understood that we were going to hold the bar high. So we were always it was very easy to see the students who had come through your classrooms. So thank you for making our jobs easier.
Thank you for saying that. Making these students totally miserable actually made them a lot better.
No, it's adaptability.
Yeah, it is. No, it's funny.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Jenny.
I was just going to say, I always thought you were tough, but fair.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very important. That's to a lot of students, I think, that at least there's some consistency and fairness. So I think that was not necessarily a bad thing, but I do think it's great that you were able to learn from your experiences and grow a little bit, and there is a way to give criticism that's, less harsh, a little softer, but still say the same thing. And it's, but I never found you to be too.
I didn't write that stuff.
Abrupt.
No, but my sardonic New York City voice came out a lot also. And sometimes you can't help that, that's your, you project a lot. I think I worked hard, when I was an undergraduate, and, we always say, I ate gravel when I was your age. What's your problem? So I was a gravel eater, and worked hard. And I couldn't understand it when French majors didn't bring that same passion to it. And, everybody has different levels of passion. That's just the way it is, and it took me a long time to learn that. And then I had to relearn it for film, but film was easier because everybody, who's going to not like film, I would think. Whereas French is an acquired taste, you know, film is always there. So yeah, that was hard for me to get over that part of it. And I was always really grateful when I had students like you guys who worked very hard, actually, and were very passionate about what you were doing. I'm going to shut it here if I keep it up.
Were us film students more pretentious? Did we think we knew everything?
Oh, you weren't
I mean, I was a freshman for the 2 classes that I took with you, and I was surrounded by juniors and seniors who definitely had it all figured out. So
that's what you think. They just
I know. No, I know.
Yeah.
I just remember being like 19 years old, like, wow, okay, like they seem really smart, but I'm also in this class and I'm holding my own. So
that's right. And you were holding your own. No, I mean, there were also a lot of upperclassmen who were sitting in the back, you know, looking at their phones in those days. And I was grateful that you weren't one of those. I mean, there were kids who had a good background in film, in film production, from, you know, being from certain high schools that did things like that. But no, I don't know. I never thought my film students were pretentious, you know. There's only the English. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm in all of these buckets.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Anyway, it's been, my cat is crying again. I don't know what you said to her to make her do that. But it must be dinner time, but it's noon or 11. So it was really great seeing you. And Liz, let me get you back on. I know my galleries, there you are. Thank you so much for, you know, organizing all this. I'm glad you do it. I mean, have you guys been on other ones or just on this one?
I did one with Professor Rolfink.
Oh, that's right.
Before I forget, would you, if you have a chance, would you say hi to
Mike
Klein and Beverly Eddy for me? I don't know what's been going on with them, and I haven't seen them in years. Just you and Rolfink.
Yeah. Well, I see Dieter all the time. Dieter is one of the faithful members of the film group, and Mike and Becky also. Beverly less so, but Becky is today, Becky Klein is today a judge of elections downtown in Carlisle. So that's what she's doing from 6 in the morning till 9 at night. It's not fun, you know, but at least it's a primary, so there won't be a lot of people there. So I will tell them, Missy. I will make sure I do that. Yeah.
Thank you, Nancy, so much for doing this today. And thank you to all of you for coming. As I mentioned, we've done a few of these. If any of you have other people who you'd like to see, please let me know. We're going to continue adding these, even as, you know, the world opens up and we can do things in person again. I think that this is a program we're going to keep doing. Yeah. So thank you all so much. And it was so nice to get to see all of you. And thank you, Nancy, for joining us today and making it possible.
It was great seeing you. You really were wonderful students.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me join late.
Good luck.
Thanks for letting me join late.
Good to see you all. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.